see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. How many minutes do I have? 20?
No, 15, and I'll let you know when you have 3 minutes left in case you want to open it up for questions.
Okay, perfect. So I work at Northeastern University. It's a university based in Boston, and I wear different hats here. I am a director of the COP, it's the internship program. And also I'm an adjunct faculty. I teach 2 classes. One is called the communication manager, and the one is career design. So this is a research study, it's a problem across college and other higher learning institution as we continue to enroll students in college without understanding what is ADHD. So in the United States, ADHD is one of the most diagnosed childhood disorder, according to the American Psychiatric Association. And unfortunately, this disorder is increasing year and year. And it's just really getting, in different countries, they experience the same amount of higher percentage like the United States. Just to give you an overview, 10% of the children between the age of 2 to 17 years old have been diagnosed with ADHD. About 8.1% of US adults between the age of 18 to 44 have been diagnosed with ADHD. Approximately 7.2%, 129 million children worldwide have ADHD. So what's happening in college, the percentage of US college students have been diagnosed with ADHD in the United States, it's only between 2 and 8%, as you can see from this chart. So why is that? The reason why it's so low is because students in college, they have to self-diagnose that they have ADHD. And unfortunately, a lot of time they don't do that, even if under the American Disability Act, they have an accommodation that can be established in college. Unfortunately, as you can see here, they don't do that. And also when they do that, they don't receive accommodation for this kind of disorder. As you can see, federal law make clear that post-secondary institutions are to provide accommodation. Those accommodations, usually in college for students with ADHD, they are the following: extend time to complete an exam or degree, access to campus or facilities such as classroom or dorm, or dietary restriction, or meal plan or language interpreter. So this graph here, it's really important because I wanted to make sure that you understand that in K-12, 1 in 5 children in the United States have a learning and attention disorder. 1 in 16, they are getting an IEP plan, it's an individual plan, and 1 in 15, they are getting a 504 plan. But in college, less than 2%, they actually disclose that they have disability. And even then, when they disclose that, they don't receive accommodation for ADHD, but they only receive accommodation. The only accommodation they receive is extended time for their testing. So it's really, it was really for me eye-opening when I started to study this. I spent my last 6 years studying on ADHD in college, and it was really shocking that there are a lot of limited research study in these topics, especially in a college learner. And the reason why is because ADHD in college is misdiagnosed and mistreated, as you actually saw that from the number. And some previous studies have shown us that the students that they do attend college, they have a lower GPA, they drop out of college, they actually fail, some of them, even when you're pursuing college, they have to change major all the time. So students with ADHD, they take also, they take tests, and the test is harder for them to take. It's this perception they have to work harder. And they have really poor time management and difficulty in selecting main idea, poor test taking strategy overall, and also study skill and habit. What we do know about the social interaction with students with ADHD, sorry about that, I don't know why this is going like this, is the individual with ADHD they have witnessed stigmatization, discrimination, and prejudice. And also we don't really know about the quality of the social relationship of college students with ADHD. There are not a lot of research study on this topic, but what do we know is that they have a lot of instability, especially because they're transition from high school to college. And this is actually the hardest transition from every human being to transition from childhood into adulthood. There is a different setting, different goals, different accommodation. So it's a really hard transition. And students with this ADHD, they require more structure and more goals and more regulation. And unfortunately, in college, they don't receive that. So my research study was an APA, was a qualitative study. As you can see, this was a flyer that, with the help of the Disabilities Resource Center in my college, we sent it out to potential participants. And this study was open from 18 to, the minimum requirement was age of 18 years old. They were supposed to be enrolled in university. And after the first screening, the final cohort were 8 students. And you can see in this graph, there's some of the information like their GPA, the college where they belong to, the race, the gender, and the disability disclosed along with ADHD. The interview were like during COVID, so we're all password protected. It was by Zoom. Was very interesting. We had 2 different interviews. The first one was really we discussed the social and cultural education background. The second interview where really we discussed what were the definition of ADHD, how did ADHD impacted their college journey, and what kind of resources and tools they found the most useful in their during their journey during college. As you can see here, that my finding were, well, first of all, this was a journey of 2 years, and the finding were like after collection of data and transcript was about 350 pages, so it was really long, very heavy. The 3 findings were identified. The first one was disability identity, external support system, and internal support system. And those findings were identified at least in 5 of those 8 students. So this is really important. I'm really glad that the previous presenter said that the importance of the disability and the disclosed and disability, right? The early diagnosis of an individual with ADHD is an essential component to an individual to grow and succeed in college. 5 out of 8 participants in this study, they were able to diagnose early, and they were able to not only get better during their journey in their college, but also get right accommodation, understand what ADHD was, and also ask for help and with the right resource and tools. Other things that was really interesting that even when they were diagnosed early stage, they were being misdiagnosed. One of my participants actually was providing an ear aids instead for the lack of attention. Another one was provided a mirror behind their desk. And again, some of those participants were defined a label as naughty kids, distracted all the time, but because there was misdiagnosis. So when they got the diagnosis were very important because number one, they start to understand what ADHD was, but also to embrace it. And the other 2 diagnosed in college, they really had to work harder to solidify their identity. And they wish how it was their life experience could have been if they were diagnosed earlier. In fact, some of them, they drop out of college several times until they go back. And some of them, they change major 5 times. So that tells you the importance of diagnosis. The other component that was my finding, the other finding was the component of my second finding was that the external support system, they are very important factor for any students that have ADHD. And those are the family, friends, DRC, the Disabilities Resource Center, and the professor. It really is important for students with ADHD to receive the support of their family. And it was really interesting in those participants, the role that the mom played was really like a hero. The mom helped them during this transition, especially from high school to college, or even to understand what ADHD was when they were actually diagnosed with their disability. It's really interesting to see that individuals with strong connection with their support system were more successful in their endeavor and gain a sense of belonging and connecting help to navigate their well-being, academic success, and social endeavor. Other participants also show that disclose the relationship with their friends. It was interesting to see that all of them, they were getting close to friends that also had ADHD. And when I asked them why was that, they told me because it was easier for them to kind of relate it to them. They don't have to justify all the time who they were. And, and also it was really hard for them to maintain those friends because students with ADHD, they forget a lot of things, names, birthday, sometimes they go out without a credit card. So people there, they can pass very mean comment. What really was interesting is the lack of knowledge among the university. Some professors, they don't even know what was ADHD. And also there was kind of like a bias between other students that don't have ADHD. So it was really eye-opening for me as a professor to see, you know, the frustration that those students experience. The third finding was the internal motivation impact college students with ADHD in their pursuit in higher education, leading them to be more autonomous and enhance their ability to excel across various environments. Those students were highly motivated when they really learned the passion of what they were learning, and when the professor was expressed this passion, they were really strive. 6 out of 8 students, they actually have achieved high GPA. They were always in the dean list, and they were really when they were start to believe in themselves and they start to believe in their passion, their strength, they start to really become great achiever in college. And what really was this finding, what's important is that when they become self-aware about who they were, right? They would become self-aware about what ADHD is, the limit of ADHD, and what's the strength. They start to see that their identity, the disability is part of their identity. It's not just something that doesn't belong to them. So they start to understand and they start to raise their hands and advocate for themselves and ask for help when it was needed. Self-awareness and self-confidence were essential for students with ADHD, are essential factor. And when I asked them, if you can define ADHD in only one word, what that would be. And so these are some of adjectives that they say was multi-minded, confusing, different, constant, unique, curious, discombobulated, and some weakness are time management, apply organizational tool, and celebrate success. One of the most important things that was, this research was the way that the students, when they become aware about their strength and their weakness, they also become better organize themselves and their time. So you can see some example of how they organize their computer, how they organize their folder and the lecture, how they organize their lecture. Some of them, they write notes, other they print every notes, and all of them actually agree that they prefer when the professor pre-record a lecture and then, have an interacting class with kind of debate and provide feedback straight away. And you see how they organize calendars. Some of them they organize by difficulty, by time, or by priority. So they become very meticulous on how they organize their day. And they had a checklist. Some of them had a daily checklist. This is just our planner of an example of planner. So anyway, and this is an example of different pen and color. They use a lot of pen and colors. So anyway, what's the implication? So really that we need to create education and awareness about ADHD among faculty and college. As I mentioned before, people in college, they don't know what it is. Students in college, they don't know what it is. There's a lot of bias. We need to be trained, professor and faculty and staff about that. We need to promote cross-curriculum about ADHD. So students are going to be aware of what it is, and also professors are going to be aware. And we really need to help students with ADHD to equip them to strengthen their autonomy and self-regulation. Those are not inborn skills, but skills that can be learned. And we need to facilitate self-advocacy and mentorship group. And help them with strategy where, for example, newsletter where we can embrace them, the strength that they have, and also their accomplishments. Some of them, they became the nurse of the year. Some of them, they became, constantly on the dean list. So that's really important for us to celebrate their success, because in all their life, they've been always told them they were not good enough. So we need to embrace their strength. And I mean, that's it. At 15 minutes, I think I'm done, right? Yeah. So I'm going to open up for a question right now. Thank you.